In the small, seemingly quiet town of Hawkins, Indiana, where the ordinary often brushes shoulders with the extraordinary, the story of Jonathan Byers unfolds as one of the most quietly powerful and deeply human journeys in the series, Stranger Things. At its heart, Jonathan's life is a constant, aching tug-of-war between two powerful forces: the desperate need to carve out his own independent identity and the unwavering, heavy responsibility he feels towards his fractured family. We meet him not as a hero in the traditional sense, but as a young man already worn down by the weight of duty, his shoulders bowed long before otherworldly monsters ever arrived. His father is absent, a ghost of failure and cruelty, and his mother, Joyce, while fiercely loving, is struggling to keep the lights on and her own head above water, often seen by the town as slightly unstable. This leaves Jonathan, as the eldest son, not just as a brother, but as a de facto second parent, a provider, and an emotional anchor. His dreams, his time, and his very sense of self are swallowed whole by the necessity of taking care of his younger brother, Will, and supporting his mother. He works a dead-end job, he cooks the meals, he worries about the bills, all while watching his peers, like the popular Steve Harrington, live a carefree teenage life that feels like a distant planet to him. This duty defines him completely in the beginning. He is the quiet, observant outsider, the one who expresses himself not through words but through the lens of his camera. Photography becomes his silent rebellion, his first fragile attempt at independence. Through the viewfinder, he can frame the world on his own terms, finding beauty in moments others miss, like a simple spider on a tombstone. It is a private world, a solitary escape from the constant pressure at home. But even this is tinged with his sense of duty. His photos are often of his family, a testament to his watchful, protective love. The first season's central crisis, the disappearance of Will, throws this conflict into terrifying relief. Jonathan's entire being focuses into a single, desperate point: find his brother. He abandons any pretense of a normal life, teaming up with Nancy Wheeler, another outsider in her own way, to uncover the terrifying truth. Here, his independence and his duty merge seamlessly. His skills of observation, his quiet determination, born from years of fending for himself, become the very tools needed to save his family. He is not acting out of rebellion, but out of profound loyalty. However, as the immediate danger passes and life in Hawkins continues to be punctuated by supernatural horrors, the struggle between these two sides of Jonathan intensifies. His relationship with Nancy becomes a beacon of his potential for an independent future. With her, he is seen not just as Will Byers' brother or Joyce's son, but as Jonathan, smart, brave, and deeply caring. They dream of leaving Hawkins together, of going to college in New York, of a life built on their own choices and talents. This dream represents the ultimate independence, a clean break from the trauma and poverty of his past. Yet, this dream is perpetually at odds with the gravitational pull of his family. Joyce, now fully aware of the threats lurking in the Upside Down, is more anxious and protective than ever. Will, having survived unimaginable trauma, needs stability and support. And Jonathan, conditioned by a lifetime of putting him first, cannot simply turn that instinct off. We see this in his agonizing decision-making. He lies to Nancy about getting into college, not out of malice, but because the financial reality of leaving feels like a betrayal of his duty at home. The money for his education might be needed for bills, for Will, for the ever-present emergencies that define their lives. Every step towards his future with Nancy feels, to him, like a step away from his family in their moment of continued need. This conflict creates a deep, internal suffering for Jonathan. He is often quiet, his face a mask of stoicism that hides a storm of guilt and anxiety. He loves Nancy and wants that future desperately, but he also loves his mother and brother with a ferocity that has been the cornerstone of his entire existence. He is caught in a no-win situation. To choose himself is to feel he is abandoning them, to choose them is to abandon his own happiness and potential. This is not a dramatic, explosive struggle, but a slow, grinding pressure that defines his daily life. It makes him hesitant, at times seeming to push Nancy away not because he doesn't love her, but because he feels unworthy of a future he might not be able to fully claim, and because he cannot bear the thought of dragging her into the ongoing chaos of his family's life. He becomes the reliable one, the steady hand in the background during crises, but this very reliability is a cage that prevents him from flying. The move to California in later seasons physically represents this tension. It is a fresh start, a chance at a normal life away from the cursed ground of Hawkins. Yet, Jonathan finds himself even more isolated and lost. He is now thousands of miles from the epicenter of the danger, but the psychological chains of duty remain. He feels guilty for being safe while his friends in Hawkins are fighting. And he continues to sublimate his own desires to support Will through the difficulties of being a teenage outcast in a new school. He takes on a job, he becomes the emotional rock once again, and he begins to self-medicate with marijuana to quiet the anxiety of his unresolved life. In California, with the daily supernatural threats temporarily distant, the conflict shifts from an external, saving the family, mission to an internal crisis of purpose. Who is Jonathan Byers if he is not the protector, the caretaker, the one who holds everything together? Without that constant emergency, he is forced to confront the hollowed-out space where his own identity should be. Ultimately, Jonathan's journey is a slow and painful process of learning that independence and family love are not mutually exclusive ideas, but two things that need to be balanced. His growth is not about rejecting his family, but about redefining his duty. True duty is not about sacrificing his entire self on the altar of their needs, it is about building a life where he can be strong for them while also being true to himself. The resolution comes not in a grand gesture, but in difficult, honest conversations, with Nancy, where he finally confesses his fears and failures, with Will, where he offers brotherly guidance that comes from a place of shared pain, not just parental substitute, and with Joyce, who, as she finds her own strength and love with Jim Hopper, begins to explicitly release him from the burden she never meant for him to carry. She wants him to go to college, to be with Nancy, to live his life. This permission is crucial. It allows Jonathan to see that his family's greatest wish for him is his own happiness. And that leaving to pursue his dreams is not an abandonment, but a fulfillment of the future they all fought so hard to have. In the end, Jonathan Byers' story is a profoundly relatable portrait of the struggle many face when coming of age in difficult circumstances. It is about the child who has to grow up too fast, the caregiver who forgets to care for themselves, and the quiet dreamer whose dreams are constantly deferred. His victory is not in slaying a monster from another dimension, but in the harder, quieter battle of learning to slay his own demons of guilt and obligation. He learns that independence is not selfish, and that family duty, at its healthiest, is about mutual support, not martyrdom. His journey teaches us that you can be the glue that holds your family together without dissolving your own soul in the process. And that sometimes, the bravest thing you can do for those you love is to finally, courageously, choose to love yourself enough to build your own life alongside them.